What happens when a royal sits down for one of the most prestigious interviews in America, only to walk out in fury? Prince Harry's highly anticipated 60-minute interview with Anderson Cooper began with warmth and composure, but as the questions deepened, the calm shattered. This wasn't just another conversation. It was a slow-burning clash between a seasoned journalist and a defiant royal, unraveling into one of the most unforgettable walkouts in television history. The room was calm and understated, the classic 60 minutes setup. No grand stage, no audience, just 2 chairs, a coffee table, and the quiet hum of serious journalism. Anderson Cooper greeted Prince Harry with a respectful smile and an extended hand. "Harry, thank you for being here," Anderson began, his tone warm but steady. Harry nodded briefly, his posture relaxed but guarded, the tension beneath the surface faintly visible. "Well," he said dryly, "I suppose the world expects me to explain myself. So here I am," Anderson chuckled lightly. "That's the beauty of conversations like this. People get to hear directly from you." The first few minutes went smoothly. Anderson asked about Harry's life in America, his projects, his transition from royal duties to private life, and the challenges of raising a family outside the shadow of the crown. But Harry's answers carried a sharper tone than expected. "America has been tolerable," he said, his voice edged with arrogance. "At least here I don't have to bow to outdated rituals or pretend my family understands me. It's liberating to live where people treat me as special, not as a spare part of a system." Anderson remained unfazed. He had interviewed presidents and generals. Pride was nothing new. He leaned forward slightly. "But isn't there comfort in tradition? A sense of stability, perhaps?" Harry smirked. "Comfort for whom?" "For the ones sitting on golden thrones. Tradition is just a cage with better wallpaper. My family clings to it because it hides the cracks." The air tightened. Anderson noticed the flicker of defiance in Harry's eyes but stayed calm. "That's an interesting perspective. Yet millions still admire the monarchy as a symbol of unity and resilience. What would you say to them?" Harry's reply was sharp. "I'd say they're in love with a fairy tale. They don't see the machinery behind it, the manipulation, the silencing, the control. They celebrate the crown but ignore who bleeds for it." Anderson paused, sensing the tension rising. Still, he pressed forward. "Let's talk about family," he said softly. "You've spoken about Meghan and your children with emotion before. How is life as a husband and father, away from the institution?" Harry's jaw tightened. "Life as a husband and father is as it should be, mine. The press has no right to dissect it, and neither does the monarchy. I protect what's mine. That's more than they ever did for me." Anderson nodded. "But when you speak publicly, whether in interviews, documentaries, or your book, you invite questions. Do you think there's a contradiction between demanding privacy and sharing personal details on your own terms?" Harry's eyes hardened. "That's a tired argument. Privacy doesn't mean silence, it means control. I decide what the world deserves to know. If people can't grasp that, they're not worth addressing." The energy shifted. What started as a composed interview was tilting into confrontation. Anderson stayed professional. "That's certainly one way to put it. Some might say that sounds selective." Harry leaned back, arms crossed. "Selective? No, it's called freedom, something you Americans should understand better than most." The warmth in the room vanished. Anderson gave a slow nod, jotting a note, without expression. Inside, he knew this was no ordinary interview. It was a powder keg, and Harry was holding the match. The set was silent. Cameras rolled quietly. Crew members barely breathed. 2 men sat opposite each other, one steady and composed, the other simmering with defiance. Anderson's next question sliced through the stillness. "You've spoken about your struggles with the institution. But I want to ask something deeper. Your mother, Princess Diana, became a global symbol for her compassion and strength. Do you feel you carry her legacy?" Harry's lips pressed into a thin line. "Legacy is a word the media loves. You built her up, tore her down, and now expect me to carry her like a crown I should be grateful for. I'm not my mother's replacement, and I won't let anyone use her name to measure me." Anderson stayed calm. "Fair point. But many see you continuing her spirit of independence and challenge to tradition. Isn't that something you embrace?" Harry scoffed. You all want to turn me into a symbol. It makes better headlines. My mother's memory belongs to me and my family, not to the public, and not to journalists spinning a story. Anderson absorbed the blow. All right, he said evenly. Let's pivot. Meghan, you've both spoken about the difficulties you've faced. Some critics argue that your marriage pulled you further from your family. How do you respond? Harry's eyes flashed. Critics? You mean people who've never met her, writing columns from behind desks? Meghan saved me from a suffocating institution. She didn't pull me away, she freed me. Anyone who can't see that is blind. Anderson's tone stayed neutral. But when you describe her as saving you, doesn't that suggest she holds power over your choices? Harry smirked. Power? No, it's called partnership. Something journalists like you can't understand because you're too busy dissecting others' lives instead of living your own. Anderson didn't react. You've also spoken about raising your children in America. How is fatherhood different here than it might have been in the UK? Harry exhaled. Simple. Here my children get to be normal. They're not props for photographers or pawns in a royal chess game. Unlike back home, they have a father who protects them. Anderson tilted his head. So you don't believe your family would have protected them? Harry's tone turned cutting. Protected them? The monarchy doesn't even protect its heirs, let alone the so-called spares. My children would have been sacrifices on the altar of tradition. That's not family. That's exploitation. Anderson sighed quietly, still composed. Some might argue that through your documentaries, books, and interviews, you've also kept them in the spotlight, on your own terms. How do you reconcile that? Harry leaned forward. I don't need to reconcile anything. I decide what's best for my family. The media doesn't, the Crown doesn't, and certainly not you. The air grew cold. Anderson's voice remained calm. It seems every question about accountability, Harry, you redirect to control. Do you think there's room for balance? Harry smirked. Balance is a myth. You either control your story or it controls you. I refuse to be a victim of narrative anymore. You'll never understand that. Your career depends on poking into others' lives. For the first time, Anderson's brow furrowed. He stayed silent for a moment, then spoke. Let's look ahead. What does life look like for Prince Harry 10 years from now? Harry chuckled coldly. The future is mine. I don't owe the world a press release. I'll do what I want when I want, and people can either accept that or choke on their expectations. Anderson tapped his pen once. You know, Harry, I've interviewed people at their highest and lowest points. Presidents, soldiers, families broken by tragedy. They all shared one thing, humility. Do you think you've lost that? Harry scowled. Don't lecture me about humility. I've lived through what you couldn't survive. If I sound unapologetic, it's because I've earned the right to be. Humility is for those still begging for approval. I don't need anyone's... The silence that followed was suffocating. Anderson's tone grew colder. That's one way to see it. Cameras kept rolling, but everyone felt it. The interview was collapsing. The crew shifted nervously as civility crumbled between them. Anderson adjusted his posture, his tone steady but weary. Harry, you've spoken about escaping the monarchy, but much of your public life still revolves around it. How do you respond to people who say you're trying to leave something you can't let go of? Harry gave a short, bitter laugh. Critics cling to illusions. I talk about it because it shaped me and scarred me. The monarchy isn't something you walk away from. It's stamped into your skin. If I expose its flaws, that's my right. If people can't handle the truth, that's on them. Anderson raised an eyebrow. But you've also profited from those flaws. Do you see a contradiction there? Harry leaned forward. Profited? Tell me, Anderson, is it profit when you reclaim what was stolen from you, or is it survival? I took back my story. If people want to hear it, fine. Better from me than from tabloids you all love to quote. Anderson's patience thinned. I don't quote tabloids. I ask the questions people want, answered. Harry sneered. Semantics. You're still feeding the public's appetite for drama. You're no different from the rest. Anderson's voice stayed even but firm. You've criticized the press, yet here you are again, sitting under cameras. Is it fair to say you want the attention, just on your terms? Harry smirked. Ah, the classic trap. Attention, fame, same old tune. I'm not here for your attention. You begged for mine. Let's not pretend otherwise. The arrogance in his tone was thick. The crew shifted uneasily. Anderson sat still, his composure cracking at the edges. All right, Anderson said quietly. Let's shift again. You've said your mother meant everything to you. She fought for her independence, sometimes against the same institution you condemn. Do you think she'd be proud of how you've handled things? Harry's voice rose sharply. Don't you dare use my mother as a prop for your broadcast. You never knew her. You don't know what she endured. You have no right to speculate. Anderson's tone stayed even. I wasn't speculating. I was asking for your perspective. Harry leaned back, his voice dripping with disdain. My perspective doesn't need your validation. If you think you'll get a sentimental soundbite, you're wasting your time. Anderson exhaled, steadying himself. Then let's talk about Meghan. Many admire her, others criticize her. How has she shaped the man you are today? Harry laughed bitterly. There it is. Always Meghan, always the obsession. Meghan isn't my role model. She's my partner. If people can't accept that, they're stuck in the past, like you. Why not ask about my work instead of recycling the same nonsense? Anderson's voice sharpened slightly. I have asked about your work. You've steered every answer back to grievances. Do you think your critics might have a point? That your story has become defined by resentment rather than purpose? Harry's tone darkened. Critics again. I don't owe anyone purpose. I live for myself, not for approval. Anderson leaned forward, steel in his voice, and shook his head. No, Harry. You've lived a life most people can't imagine. Instead of owning that, you sit here sneering at every question. That's not survival. It's self-destruction. Harry's jaw tightened, his face red with anger. You think you can shame me? I don't owe you anything. Anderson leaned in, eyes sharp. Then why are you here? You rail against the media, yet run to the spotlight. You talk about freedom, but live chained to bitterness. You want to be heard, but you don't want to listen. And that's why you're here alone, without the institution, without the family, without the respect you think you deserve. Harry's fist clenched. You think you know me? You don't. My family didn't deserve me. The monarchy didn't deserve me. Maybe the world doesn't either, but I'll still live my truth, whether you like it or not. Anderson's voice was ice. You're not living your truth, Harry. You're hiding behind it. You're not a brave rebel. You're a man who had everything and chose to burn it down. And if Diana were here, I think she'd weep at what you've become. The words hit like a thunderclap. Harry froze, then erupted. That's it. I won't sit here and be insulted. This interview is over. Gas rippled through the crew as Harry ripped off his microphone and stormed out. Anderson sat still, his voice low but steady. Sometimes the hardest truth to hear is the one that cuts closest to the bone. Tonight you've seen a man unwilling to face his reflection. That's his choice, but our job is to ask and to listen, even when the answers come wrapped in arrogance. He turned toward the camera. To our viewers, we expected honesty and reflection. What we got was something else entirely, but perhaps in its own way, it revealed more than any answer could. The cameras lingered on Anderson's calm face before fading to black. Across America, audiences sat stunned. The prince who came to tell his story had walked away instead, leaving behind not clarity but controversy. Was this the most dramatic interview of Harry's career, or just another clash with the press? Tell us what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video if you were shocked, and hit subscribe for more unbelievable moments like this.